Are you ready to keep digging in for more information on SIBO? If so, let's go. Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sarah K. Hoffman, aka a Gutsy Girl, and today we are back for more SIBO chat. I am calling this part 1, and I will just keep going with all the different parts of the SIBO series until I come to the end of what I think is very full and comprehensive information for you. Each of these parts really are derived from questions that you have submitted. And so if you would like to submit your own questions, feel free to reach out to me in a private message on Instagram at AGUTSYGIRL, or you can always leave them via the comments below right here on YouTube. For part 1 today, the question that I am going to answer is this: do you have to go on a SIBO/low FODMAP diet in order to fully heal your SIBO? And then the second part of that question that was submitted was, or could you just eat gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, but still eat higher FODMAP foods like garlic, asparagus, leeks, etc. So that's what I am here to answer and to help break down for you today. Okay, so when answering this question, first things first, what the heck is the SIBO in the low FODMAP diet? Low FODMAP stands for low and then fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. They're just a huge classification of various foods that fall into these different categories. I have written about all of these categories on AGUTSYGIRL.com, but for example, a disaccharide is something that is made of two, aka di, and becomes harder to break down. Versus a monosaccharide that's something like a very simple sugar that's already broken down, pre-digested, and easy to go through the body. And so when we are talking about a low FODMAP diet, what we are talking about are choosing foods that have low amounts of those different FODMAP classifications. However, it's so much more complicated than that. It is super hard diet to figure out because almost all foods at some point have some sort of degree of FODMAP in them, depending on the portion. For example, let's take a blackberry. If you were to consume just one blackberry, I know, who does that anyways? But for the sake of this conversation, let's just consider you just wanted one blackberry. If you wanted one blackberry, that would be considered a low FODMAP food. However, if it's one medium blackberry up to 7 grams versus the 4 grams that I just described, you would then hit a moderate amount of FODMAPs due to the sorbitol. Then, once you hit 2/3 cups of blackberries, they become a high FODMAP food. You can go through and you can break down almost every single food you're interested in eating in this way. In fact, I already have for you in my ebook, Reasonable SIBO, I have 310 plus graphics that are broken down into quantity of how much you can have before that becomes a moderate or a high FODMAP item. But moving forward, so now that we have a little bit of an understanding about what a FODMAP diet is, the reason that it is oftentimes correlated with SIBO, which again stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, is because a lot of times they cannot be broken down, the FODMAPs, and so instead they are left to ferment and then reach back to the small intestine where the bacterial overgrowth continues and grows. That is the theory, that is always what has been thought, and so therefore many practitioners will recommend that if you have SIBO, you follow a low FODMAP diet. So the first part of the question is, do I think you have to follow that in order to heal SIBO? And the answer truly is, it depends, a yes and a no. So I believe that because I followed a low FODMAP diet in order to heal my gut, along with all the other things that I did, including rifaximin and neomycin, which are 2 antibiotics that we will talk about in a different video, I was able to heal long term. Now, I will tell you though that I do believe there's a difference between low FODMAP and no FODMAP. I do not think that there is any rhyme or reason for doing no FODMAP. I know that in this community, so many people want to control healing their SIBO with diet alone, and so they do a no FODMAP diet. Unfortunately, FODMAP foods, high FODMAP foods, are filled with so many nutrients that are so great for our bodies. High FODMAP foods are those things like garlic, artichokes, leeks, a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, a lot of nuts. And because of it, the more that we remove those foods, the more likely it is that it will take longer for the gut to heal. So do I think you have to follow a low FODMAP diet in order to heal SIBO? Maybe. Do I think you have to follow a no FODMAP diet in order to heal SIBO? Absolutely not. The second part of the question was, could you just do gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free instead of not following the low FODMAP diet? And when I'm answering this question, what I think of is the idea that foods that have gluten, dairy, and sugar are all inherently put into these categories as being good and as being bad for gut healing, when the reality is that there are no entire categories that are going to make or break your healing progress usually. If you have a specific autoimmune condition or an allergy, that is a completely different story. But when it comes to something like SIBO, if you just completely cut out entire food categories, I do not believe that that is going to help you heal any faster. I also do not believe that if you choose to give up gluten, dairy, and sugar, and you follow a low FODMAP diet, that is going to expedite your healing progress anymore. Now, I always believe that people benefit from reducing the amount of GMO-filled gluten. I always think that dairy that is not organic and raw can be eliminated and is good practice for overall health and healing. And finally, I do believe that a low sugar diet is going to always benefit everyone across the board, no matter what condition you are dealing with. Simply just don't always agree with the idea that specific gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free diets go hand in hand with things like SIBO. I believe that with a condition like SIBO, it is truly dependent upon you, the individual. I believe that you have to practice very meticulous food journaling every single day. You have to know the quantity of foods that you're eating at any given moment, along with your other factors, your lifestyle, your stress levels, how much you're working out, your supplements, your medications, everything else in your life. You have to combine it with what you're eating, and you have to analyze and look at that journal day in and day out to see what is truly working for you and what is not working for you. So there you go. Part 1 of this SIBO series, all about my thoughts on the FODMAP diet, what low FODMAP stands for, and deeper thoughts on gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, and or the low FODMAP diet in particular. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please do comment below, leave your questions, and I will see you again next time.